Next, we have Charlie Chipmunk. I teach this to so many students that... Hi everyone, my name is Antonela and I'm a piano teacher here in the Silicon Valley. Today I'm so excited to talk to you about Piano Safari, what I think about the method, what I like about it, what I don't like about it. For more videos like this, or if you want me to review any other piano series, please let me know down below, and please like and subscribe for more videos like this. Here's a challenge. I feel like I will say the word Piano Safari a lot, so if you want to count how many times I say that, it'd be really funny to read down in the comments. One of the first videos I've ever posted on YouTube was a piano series review. If you have not watched it, please check it out. It's about Tales of a Musical Journey #1, and it's pretty much one of my most watched videos if you don't count one of the student performances that I posted a while ago. So since that video was pretty popular, I decided to talk more about piano series like this. One of them, which I use the most, is Piano Safari. So if you've never heard of this is a great book for any age. It's appropriate for beginners and even adults. So we're going to go through that in just a second. So Piano Safari is a method created by two wonderful women. I don't personally know them, but I've read the research from one of them. Their names are Julie Nair, I believe that's how you say her last name, and Catherine Fisher. Here's a side note. If you want to go in depth with piano pedagogy, I strongly recommend reading Dr. Nair's Dissertation. I will include it down below, but you can find it in your own Piano Safari's website. Probably it will be there. There are currently 3 levels. There's level 1, there's level 2, there's level 3, and then there's also 2 levels, I believe. I think it's 2 levels for older beginners, and that could be teenagers, it could be very fast-paced students you have, or even adults. So let's talk about the pros. First of all, I love it. That's all you need to know. Just kidding. So it has a free teacher guide that is up on their website that goes really in depth about lesson plans. So first of all, you don't really have to worry about lesson planning at all. If you are new to the series, the authors do such a great job at going through everything you need to go over in class. It's pretty detailed too, so it's quite awesome to have that resource. It also has reminder videos for parents posted on Piano Safari's YouTube channel. You will have rote pieces, which means the students will learn those pieces by imitation or by listening, and maybe by reading if they can read a little bit. They're based on patterns and they sound way more mature than they actually are. If the student was to read that piece, that rote piece, it would be extremely difficult because it's beyond their reading level. However, they can play it, which is something that students always love. Another type of piece that you will see on Piano Safari books are reading pieces. So they are basically what they sound like. You just go through the piece and read it based on just your reading skills. And then there are technique exercises, which we will talk about later, as well as theory if you choose to do supplementary books, sight reading cards if you want to sight read and get your students better at that skill, etc. Going back to the reminder videos, this method has video reminders on YouTube for parents and for students. So say that I just taught a song or a piece to a child and then they go home, they want to practice it, but they completely forget. Well, there are a couple of ways to do this. You can record that lesson while you're teaching it to the child, or when they go home, you can just send them the link of Piano Safari and it's done. So I absolutely love that. It's pretty quick and pretty productive to just send parents the link instead of recording it yourself. So this is a well-rounded method. As I said before, it combines technique, sight reading, maybe ear training if you want to look at it that way, improvisation, reading, strong reading skills based on intervals, and as I said, rote pieces. So another characteristic that Piano Safari uses is they introduce eighth notes from the very beginning. So I will show you in just a second. Also, if you can tell, I have no cover for this because I've used it so much that it has just fallen apart. So if you look at the very first few pages of the method, so posture is pretty important. They keep it nice and short. We're not going to talk about posture in this video. However, That's all they say about that. And then they go to a hand shape, which is good. And then we talk about finger numbers. And then we talk about low and high. And the whole method, well, it's called Piano Safari, right? So we are going to go on a safari and we're going to meet these animals that will accompany us throughout the book. And each animal has one characteristic, one technique. For example, the monkey, we're going to learn that it has to do with wrist rotation. The lion has to do with arm weight. So I absolutely love that concept because kids will not think that it's just technique or something boring, but they will think of it as a game, or they will be more likely to remember it based on the animal characteristics. Rhythm. We have quarter notes, and in Piano Safari we count by using syllabic counting. So ta, 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 ta. Now, when I was growing up, that's exactly what we used, and that's really fun for me because kids will remember ta, 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 even if they don't know how to count yet, which is a huge help. Then, immediately after that, we talk about eighth notes. With other methods, like for example Faber or really any other methods, I find that eighth notes are introduced so late that children usually do not play them well. Like they will either rush them or play them like quarter notes. Just they're not going to be steady, or they will be confused. They don't know how to count them, and they miss out in so much repertoire just because they don't know how to play eighth notes. So we have eighth notes, and the way that Piano Safari is counting them is by saying ta-ti, ta-ti. So from the beginning, we are introduced to pretty much all the main rhythms that we need to be successful. After that, we get to talk about measures and groupings and bar lines and all that other good stuff. And then here's the first rote song. So we're learning the alphabet and we're playing something from the very beginning. I love the accompaniment, the teacher accompaniment, and I love that everything is played with finger 2, not with finger 1, not with finger 3. Actually, finger 3 would be more preferable. I get students to do that instead, but either 2 or 3 are actually better fingers to start with because your hand is more natural in that position, 2 or 3. If you start with 1, the beginner is not going to be able to hold a good piano position with the thumb. That's just not going to happen. Next, we have Charlie Chipmunk. I teach this to so many students and they love it. One thing I love about it is that, again, everything is with one finger and it's with only one hand. And then you can switch. You can use your left hand instead. And it's by rote, so children get to playing immediately. They don't just learn about technique and all that good stuff without really playing or experiencing it. And they're less likely to be bored in the very first lesson. They're more likely to love playing, and parents love that. So it's a great introduction to piano lessons. We also have improvisation, and then we have another piece called Hungry Hippo. Piano Safari really encourages children to transpose from the very beginning because they really build on that concept of intervals and relationships between the notes instead of just a fixed position like a lot of other American methods. Here's our first reading song, which is interesting. It's already off staff. So there's that. And then we have our first technique exercise, lion paw. So lion paw, the most important thing here is we have to have a loud, warm tone, not just banging on the keys. Heavy, loose lion paw arm, which means we have to be really relaxed. Down, up motion. So you want to go down and then go up. Also similar to Irina Gorin with the rainbows up and down. And you only play D's across the keyboard, D, D, using your whole arm from the very first technique exercise instead of just having a fixed position from the fingers. Here's my dog Fritz. So all the right hand pieces in this book start from G, always, and all the left hand pieces start from bass C. They learn to read notes based on intervals. So they learn that this is a step, this is a step, this is a step. Same thing here. After a while, we are introduced to skips. Usually students struggle a little bit there, but it doesn't last for very long. And then let's skip ahead to my favorite song at the very end, which is Monkey Blues. This is a Rote song, but at this point, a lot of kids can tell that these are skips. No matter where they read, they can tell what a skip is, what a step is, and anything like that. Students love it because of the Rote songs. It's not very crowded on the page. It doesn't have animals here, animals there, a lot of busy stuff over here. It's very simple. It doesn't have a lot of colors though, which can also be bad, but I personally like it. What are some of the cons of using Piano Safari? Well, it's a little bit more expensive than other books, so if you live in an area where parents don't appreciate piano lessons as much and just don't have the means, it might be a little bit tricky. So it's not on Amazon. This is kind of big because a lot of people just want things fast, and free shipping also for Amazon Prime is usually a nice perk. So it's not on Amazon, and that's not fun for us. They're not very colorful, as I said before, which can be good or bad depending on what your preferences are. Now, another thing that might be a little bit tricky is parental involvement. Obviously, parents need to be involved with piano practicing at home in order to have the student be successful. However, with Rote pieces, the parent has to really be involved. They have to show the video, they have to make sure the child is doing their work, especially if children can't read or write yet. I have a lot of students who start at 4 or 5, and they cannot be left alone to go on YouTube and figure out where the video is and figure out the steps. So parents have to be really involved. Can't read all notes without context for at least level 1, meaning that if you show a child a random note without any context, they might be a little bit confused what that note is because of intervallic relationships. If they know one note, for example, treble G, then they can figure out what that note is. Or if they know bass F, they can figure out what the next note will be. But randomly, without any context, they might have a hard time retrieving that information. Another disadvantage of using Piano Safari is that children can play more complicated pieces that they can read. And again, this can be good or bad depending on what your preference is, but sometimes they will be able to play a very complicated piece with 8th notes, maybe even 16th notes, and will not be able to read it on the page because it's just beyond their reading level. The last disadvantage is relying on reminder videos. So students will be very attached to seeing a video and then learning a piece, and for some of them, when they have to learn a piece by reading, for example, level 3 is just reading pieces, then they will constantly ask if there's a video for it. So that's something that I don't necessarily like about it. Either way, the whole series is just so well-rounded, and there's no perfect method, of course. How have I used Piano Safari? So this is, along with Tales of Musical Journey, one of my most used books in the studio. I mean, you saw the cover, it basically fell off. You can start this book with a student who is very energetic and who needs to switch activities often. You can also start this with very interested students, but they just are not patient. They just want to learn from the very beginning. They just want to learn about how to play something. They don't like to be told, sit this way, do this way. So it can be a good way to make piano appealing to students like this. This is not a good series if your parents are not involved with the children and if they do not have time to sit and practice with them. I think it would be really hard to do that, but that's just my opinion. This method also might not be good for students with focus issues. Sometimes Rote pieces might be too much to pay attention to, but at other times Rote pieces will be very appealing to students like this because they will focus their attention. So it's kind of contradictory. It just depends on the personality. Another good reason you could use Piano Safari is for your transfer students. Say that they lack certain skills that are important for you in your studio, you can use Piano Safari to kind of keep them up to date without feeling that they're going back levels. If you don't like to do the method, you could just use the rote pieces. They're great for recitals, students sound great, they're mature, and they're quite fun. For adults, this method is amazing. I have used older beginner version, and it's quite different than all other methods that I've seen before, because again, it uses rote, uses reading, and it kind of takes all the piano safari levels and it meshes them in one. It's a little bit fast paced and I love it. So how is this similar to other method books? Well, Piano Safari does not have a fixed position from the beginning, which is exactly what I was looking for. There are many books that you have to purchase, similar to other methods. You have to buy theory book, the technique book, the sight reading. It's not all in one, which can be a deal breaker for certain people. However, other method books also have the same system where you have to buy theory, technique, supplementary pieces, sight reading, and you name it. If you've used Piano Safari in your studio, I'd love to know your opinions, what you think of it, what you've seen with your students. Are they better readers than different method books, or are they worse reader than other method books? I'd love to know. I've been using this method for about 2 years since a colleague of mine told me, and I have not stopped using it since then. That does not mean that I just use Piano Safari. It's just one of my most used method books that I really enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. Please like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more videos like this. If you have any other suggestions, please leave them down below and I would love to make that video for you. Thank you and see you next time. Bye. Then, bam, this is, I love this so much. So, where is it? Sorry. So first we talk about quarter notes, and look at that. Sorry, I live next to a street that is very busy, so right now is when the post office maybe or Amazon is trying to deliver, so we're just going to ignore that. I might cut that out. Okay,